There is a moment that comes to every person who has lived long enough. It arrives quietly, not with a trumpet or a warning, but in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. You are sitting somewhere familiar, perhaps watching the light change through a window, and something inside you shifts. A stillness settles in, and in that stillness, a question rises from the deepest part of you. What truly matters now? The elders knew this moment well. They had seen it come for their parents, for their grandparents, for every man and woman who had crossed the threshold of 60 winters. And what they discovered, through lifetimes of watching, listening, and learning, was this. After 60, your energy is no longer unlimited. You cannot do everything. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot give yourself to every person, every obligation, every noise that calls your name. The body that once seemed inexhaustible has begun to speak to you in a different language, slower, more deliberate, full of wisdom if you are willing to listen. And so the elders did something profound. They sat together, generation after generation, and they made a list, not a list of things to acquire, not a list of goals to achieve, but a list of things worth protecting, because they understood something that the modern world has nearly forgotten. In your final years, what you choose to guard becomes who you are. You cannot protect everything, so the elders made a list. Only 6 things. 6 things that, if you guard them with intention and courage, will determine everything. Your peace, your health, the legacy you leave in the hearts of everyone who ever loved you. Choose wisely. Guard it like it is the last resource you have, because it may be. The elders did not speak of peace as something soft or passive. They did not mean the absence of difficulty or the avoidance of pain. When they spoke of peace, they meant something ancient and hard-won, an inner ground so steady that the storms of the world could rage around you without pulling you from your roots. They had seen what happened to men and women who let their peace be stolen. Slowly, almost without noticing, they gave it away, to old arguments that had no resolution, to family members who fed on conflict, to news that arrived each morning like a fresh wound, to memories of wrongs done 20 years ago that still burned as if they happened yesterday. And in the end, those people arrived at the closing chapters of their lives hollow, not because life had been unkind, but because they had spent their most precious currency, their inner stillness, on things that returned nothing. The elders would say, you cannot buy peace back. Once the season has passed, it does not return. Protecting your peace means making a decision, sometimes a painful one, about what you will allow to live inside you. It means walking away from conversations designed to destabilize you. It means forgiving, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve the freedom that forgiveness brings. It means choosing, every single morning, what you will carry and what you will set down at the door. Your peace is not selfish. It is the foundation on which everything else rests. Without it, no relationship heals, no body recovers, no morning arrives as a gift. Guard it, fiercely, quietly, without apology. Stop spending it where it was never valued. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from giving your hours to people and places that never recognized what you were offering. The elders saw this clearly, because they had lived long enough to count the cost. Time, they said, is the only thing you are given that you cannot earn more of. Every other resource, money, strength, even relationships, can be renewed in some form. But the hour that passes does not come back. The afternoon spent in resentment is gone. The morning wasted in worry about things beyond your reach is a morning you will not have again. After 60, this truth becomes impossibly clear. And yet so many people continue the old patterns, attending gatherings out of guilt, saying yes to obligations that drain them, waiting for permission from others to spend their remaining time on what feeds their soul. The elders had no patience for this, not out of harshness, but out of love. They would look at someone trapped in a cycle of endless obligation and say with gentle firmness, whose life is this? Protecting your time means learning, perhaps for the first time, that no is a complete sentence. It means understanding that the most generous thing you can do with your remaining years is to live them fully, authentically, without the slow bleed of time given to those who never noticed the gift. It means sitting with your grandchildren on a Tuesday afternoon without guilt. It means reading the book you have been meaning to read for a decade. It means watching the sun set without thinking about what needs to be done tomorrow. Your time is sacred. Let it be spent in the places where it is sacred to others as well. Stop here for a moment. Of the two things we have covered so far, your peace and your time, which one have you been neglecting? Sit with that question honestly. The elders always said that the teaching which makes you uncomfortable is the one most meant for you. Do not let others rewrite what you lived. This one the elders spoke about with a particular kind of fire, because they had watched it happen. Good people, people who had survived remarkable things, people who had built families and crossed deserts of hardship and emerged with hard-won wisdom, slowly allow others to revise the meaning of their lives. Sometimes it was family members who did not want to acknowledge the difficulty of the past. Sometimes it was a culture that reduced an entire life to its failures and forgot its triumphs. Sometimes it was the person themselves who, in moments of doubt, began to accept the versions others told about who they were. Your story belongs to you. Every scar, every detour, every choice made in darkness with insufficient light, it is yours, and the meaning of it is yours to assign. The elders understood that a person who loses their story loses something essential, the thread that connects them to themselves, to their ancestors, and to the generations that will come after. Without your story, you become a stranger in your own life. Protecting your story does not mean defending every decision you ever made. It does not mean refusing to grow or refusing to see yourself honestly. It means holding the whole of your life with respect. It means telling your children and grandchildren who you were, not the edited version, not the polished version, but the real one, full of complexity and humanity and hard-earned grace. Because here is what the elders knew: the true stories, the honest ones, the ones with struggle woven in, are the ones that help, the ones that give the next generation permission to be human, the ones that say, I was afraid too, I failed too, and I kept going. Tell your story. Write it down if you can. Speak it out loud. It is one of the most powerful gifts you can leave behind. Before we continue to the next lesson, I want to share something with you. Many of the reflections I have gathered over the years about aging with dignity, about inner peace, about the forgotten wisdom that modern life has pushed aside, I have brought together in a book called The Last Teachings. It is written the way an elder would speak, simply, directly, as if sitting beside you on a quiet evening. Not to lecture, but to remind you of things you may have already sensed but never had words for. If these teachings are resonating with something inside you, you will find the link in the first comment. It carried you this far. Now you carry it. For most of a life, the relationship with the body is unconscious. You ask it to go and it goes. You ask it to recover and it recovers. You push it past its limits and somehow it endures. And in the busyness of living, you rarely stop to feel gratitude for the extraordinary loyalty of this physical self that has never once left you. The elders asked a simple question. Would you treat an old friend the way you treat your body? An old friend who has walked every road with you, who carried your children, who stayed awake through the long nights of worry, who moved you through grief and celebration and ordinary Tuesday mornings for decades without a single day off. Would you feed that friend poorly and then be surprised when they grew tired? Would you deprive them of rest and then wonder why they struggled? After 60, the body begins to ask for a different kind of relationship. Not one of force and demand, but one of partnership, of listening, of genuine care given not out of vanity or fear, but out of respect for something that has served you faithfully and completely. Protecting your body in your final years means learning what it needs, not what the advertisements say, not what the culture demands, but what your body, at this stage of life, truly requires to thrive. More sleep, perhaps, more stillness, more time outdoors in natural light, less of the food that numbs and more of the food that nourishes. It means moving, gently, consistently, joyfully, because the body was made to move and longs to be alive in that fundamental way. And perhaps most importantly, it means listening to the signals your body sends before they become emergencies. The elders were careful observers of themselves. They knew that the body speaks in whispers long before it is forced to shout. Carry it now, with the same faithfulness with which it carried you, only the ones that cost you nothing to be yourself. The elders were remarkably clear on this point, and they did not soften it for comfort. Not every relationship deserves the rest of your years. This is not cruelty. It is wisdom born from watching people spend their last good decades contorting themselves into shapes unrecognizable in order to maintain peace with people who never truly valued them. There are relationships in every life that were built on what you could provide. Your labor, your compliance, your silence, your willingness to diminish yourself for the comfort of another. And for a long time, perhaps, those relationships seemed necessary. The social cost of releasing them felt too high. The fear of loneliness felt too great. But the elders would tell you, loneliness in a hollow relationship is worse than solitude in an honest one. The relationships worth protecting are the ones where you arrive as yourself, with your opinions and your history and your difficult questions and your laughter, and you are welcome. Where you do not have to translate yourself or perform a version of yourself that someone else finds acceptable, where the love is not conditional on your usefulness. These relationships may be fewer than you imagined. That is all right. The elders did not measure wealth in numbers. One true friendship, one honest conversation, one person who sees you completely and chooses to stay. This is a richness that no crowd can replicate. In your final years, protect these rare connections with the same energy you once gave to everything. Show up for them. Tell these people what they mean to you. Not someday, not when the moment is perfect, but now. Because the elders also knew the words left unspoken at the end are the ones that weigh the most. And protecting this next one, the sixth and final thing, is what makes all the others possible, in something greater, in yourself. In the next generation, the elders spoke of faith as something far wider than religion, though for many of them, spiritual practice was the ground beneath their feet. They spoke of faith as the orientation of the soul, the direction you face when everything else is uncertain. Faith in something greater than yourself means living with the understanding that your life is part of something larger, a story that began before you and will continue after you, that the suffering you endured had meaning even when you could not see it, that the love you gave moved through the world in ways you will never fully trace, that you are not alone in this strange, beautiful, difficult passage. Faith in yourself means trusting the accumulated wisdom of your own lived experience. After 60 years or more of navigating this world, you know things. You have hard-won knowledge about what endures and what fades, about what heals and what destroys, about what truly matters when the distractions fall away. Do not abandon that knowing in deference to a world that constantly tells you to doubt yourself. And faith in the next generation, this perhaps is the most courageous faith of all. The elders who lived with the most peace were not the ones who looked at young people with despair, though they had every reason to worry. They were the ones who chose, deliberately, to believe in the capacity of those who would inherit the world they were leaving behind. They understood something essential. Despair is contagious, but so is faith. The elder who sits with a young person and says, "I believe in you, I believe in your generation's ability to find the way forward," that elder plants something that may grow for 100 years. Your faith is not naive. It is not a refusal to see clearly. It is a choice of the deepest kind, to act as if goodness is possible, even when the evidence is mixed, to love the future enough to tend it carefully in the present. If these words have touched something in your heart, I want to share one more thing before we close. Many people have asked me where these teachings come from, whether there is a place to go deeper, to sit longer with these reflections on what it means to age with dignity and intention. I gathered much of what I have learned in a book called The Last Teachings, a quiet collection of the lessons that matter most when the years grow precious. It is written simply, in the spirit of a conversation between an elder and someone they love, not as a lecture, but as a companion for the road ahead. And because mornings are sacred, as the elders always knew, anyone who finds the book will also receive a gift, a teaching called The Secrets of the First Hour, which explores the silent morning practices that elders across many traditions considered the most important ritual of the day. The link is in the first comment, whenever you are ready. Let us return one last time to the image of the elders sitting together, generation after generation, making their careful list. They were not afraid of death. What they feared, if they feared anything, was arriving at the end of a long life and discovering that they had protected the wrong things, that they had guarded their pride and let their peace erode, that they had protected their busyness and let their time be stolen, that they had protected a version of themselves that never truly existed, and in doing so, lost the story that was actually theirs. The 6 things they chose to protect were not random. They form a kind of architecture, a structure that, if built with care, holds everything else in place. Peace is the foundation. Without it, nothing else is stable. Time is the material. Everything you build is made from it. Story is the meaning. It is what transforms experience into wisdom. Body is the vessel. Without it, you are not here to protect anything at all. Relationships are the warmth. They are what make the structure worth inhabiting. And faith is the light. It is what allows you to see clearly when the hours grow dark. These are the 6 things, not 10, not 26, because the elders understood that focus is its own form of wisdom. That a life spread too thin across too many obligations, too many fears, too many people who were never truly present, that life, however long, feels short, but a life gathered around what is truly essential, that life, however long or brief it turns out to be, feels complete. You are still here. You are still reading, still listening, still asking the deep questions that only the courageous ask. That matters. The elders would recognize you. They would see in you the same quality they saw in one another, the willingness to sit with difficulty, to face the honest questions, to choose growth even when comfort was available. What you protect now becomes what your family remembers forever. Not the car you drove, not the title you held, not the arguments you won. They will remember how you made them feel when they sat beside you. Whether you were present, whether you were at peace, whether you told them your real story, whether you looked at them and said with your whole being, I believe in you. Protect the 6 things and leave behind something that lasts. The elders would say, the teaching ends here, but the living of it is just beginning.